for participating in our Level 1 user training for FRACO mast climbing work platform. Sun Scaffold is the largest dealer on the West Coast and is committed to increasing our safety trainings on an ongoing basis. Whether this is a review or your first exposure to mast climbing work platforms, please help us to train you to be a safer and more experienced, competent worker by focusing your attention to the following training videos. Mast climbing work platforms are a single elevation platform elevated by a powered drive system. The drive system is supported and guided by a mast that may or may not require a lateral restraint from a separate supporting structure. Mast climbing work platforms are primarily used to position and give safe access to personnel along with their necessary tools and material to perform their work. The product models you will be trained on today are the FRSM 8000 ratchet-driven hydraulic work platform, the FRSM 20K ratchet-driven hydraulic work platform, and the ACT-8 endless screw-driven hydraulic work platform. The FRSM 8000 is driven by a hydraulic motor, powered by a detachable gasoline engine pack. It climbs a 12-inch by 12-inch mast with twin ratcheting hydraulic ram sets. The power, drive, and safety release systems are all operated manually. The 12-inch by 12-inch by 10-foot mast sections can be coupled together to achieve a 34-foot freestanding configuration. If the tower is supported by lateral anchor ties into the structure, the mast section can be left as a single 12-inch by 12-inch by 10-foot mast. The FRSM 8000 configurations are limited to 36 foot wide for single mast configuration and 105 foot wide for twin mast configuration. The FRSM 20K is driven by a hydraulic motor and powered by a gasoline engine. It climbs a 20-inch by 20-inch mast with a single ratcheting hydraulic ram set. The power, drive, and safety release systems are operated with a combination of manual, combustion, and electrical components. The 20-inch by 20-inch by 5-foot mast sections allow typical configurations to achieve a 45-foot freestanding height. The configurations are limited to 47 feet wide for single mast and approximately 127 feet for twin mast configurations. The ACT-8 is a gear-driven machine that climbs or descends at a maximum speed of 39 feet per minute. The drive systems utilize a combination of gasoline, hydraulic, and electrical components. Depending upon the year model, a handheld safety release lever is retracted and held into position during the descent mode. The 20-inch by 20-inch by 5-foot mast sections allow typical configurations to achieve a 45-foot freestanding height. The configurations are limited to 56 feet wide for single mast configurations and 118 feet wide for twin mast configurations. This Level 1 user training certification will require all trainees to read and speak clear English. If a trainee requires training in a different language, please see the instructor and he will make arrangements for you to attend a bilingual class at a later time. This certification will require classroom training, knowledge and possession of the manual information, hands-on training, and a written test. You must pass the test with a 70% grade or higher. As part of this training, you will be expected to know and identify key components of the mast climbing work platform and proceed with filling out a daily inspection. Identify the tie-off points and safe removal of planks and guardrails. Ascend and descend the unit proficiently without help from the instructor. Operate the available accessories. Identify the location of the warning panel, and demonstrate the use of the emergency safety descent device when applicable. On your left is a diagram of a freestanding single mast configuration, and on your right is a diagram of a twin mast configuration set on ground bases. Note that the ground base mast climbing work platform must always be tied in. Please refer to your personal manual to identify and study these components and terminology. These components will be reviewed further when we complete the daily inspection sheet toward the end of the video training. Whether you use or operate a mast climbing work platform, everyone should know the definition of and act as a competent person. No alterations or mechanical repairs can be made without proper certification. Each job site will have a qualified person to contact in the case of equipment alterations, damage, or repair. A competent person is able to recognize the hazards associated with a particular task and has the ability and authority to prevent those hazards. Only qualified and authorized personnel can operate, install, dismantle, and maintain a mast climbing work platform. Operators are responsible for and should be aware of load capacities, distribution of materials, and the material weights. 2 certified operators must always be present during the use of the mast climbing work platform. You must be properly trained to use your personal fall protection equipment when opening up a fall hazard. There are 3 designated tie-off points to attach your shock-absorbing lanyard to. One person may tie off to the bridge bracket ear, a lateral mast rung, or a motor unit handle. Never use a tie-off point that has been damaged. When removing or replacing planks, opening the foot plank past the wall tie bracket, or removing a guardrail, a worker should always be tied off until the foot planks and guardrails are fully replaced and secured. Before we review the daily inspection on page 12 of the training manual, let's set it aside and come back to that toward the end of the video training. It is the responsibility of the operator and user that the perimeter of the scaffold be cordoned off with a physical barricade or danger tape. Materials, tools, guardrails, and planks can fall from the platform. It is also important to prevent the placement of materials or equipment under the platform. A collision with such equipment or material could cause a failure and serious injury. It is essential that a visual inspection is made of the ground under the surrounding of the base and foot plate. The ground can expand and retract, especially during freezing conditions. When using a freestanding base, make sure that the number of planks does not exceed the distance covered by the front stabilizers of the base. Also, the rear stabilizers must be fully deployed before maximum freestanding height can be accomplished. It is extremely important to know that the vertical and lateral path of travel is clear from any obstruction, such as trees, power lines, balconies, open windows, cranes, and forklifts. Remember that the lifeline and water hoses can conduct electricity if the platform comes too close to a power line. It's important to remember that not all FRACO mast climbers will be provided by a scaffold dealer, and throughout the 5-year certification period, you may find yourself working off privately owned and installed equipment from a subcontractor. Human error can always be a factor with missing parts, so be sure to know what you're looking for and inspect at the beginning of each shift. Never use a platform that is damaged or has a malfunction in the operation. Keep an eye out for bent tower rungs, outrigger tubes, guardrails, or bridge trusses. If damage occurs throughout the course of your shift, stop work immediately and notify the qualified competent person on your job site to arrange repairs. If a person neglects to make this notification, his or her certification will be revoked and may be responsible for costs, relating to the damaged repairs and retraining. Especially in the Northwest, where wet and moldy conditions are a norm, inspect the deck wood and planks for damage, cracks, splits, and rot. Never use a platform with damaged deck wood or foot plank. Most often, foot plank are used to fill in the space between the building face and the mast climbing work platform. The plank can be installed at deck level or at a 20-inch drop for more convenient material access. Plank ties should be used approximately every 10 feet and plank end guardrails installed and secured at every end. Planks can move and sometimes lift off during high winds. If there are no foot planks, or when removing and replacing them while passing through anchoring points, you must always use a fall protection device and be tied off to one of the anchoring points shown on page 10 of this document. Fall hazards can be 100% eliminated by installing guardrails on the deck and platform and at both ends. If the foot plank is properly installed to the face of the building can act as the fourth side fall protection. Never lean against or sit on a guardrail. Protective mesh not only protects workers from a crushing hazard, but helps prevent tools and materials from being bound up during the ascent or descent. This hazard could cause damage to the mast section and stability of the entire work platform. The maximum safe distance between the working surface and the end of the planks is 12 inches. This distance may vary depending upon the trade regulations in your area. L outrigger brackets should be installed whenever the building side creates an opening or surpasses the top elevation. Every mast section should have a red tower guard on top to prevent roller guides from running off the mast. The shock load could cause a bridge connection to fail. When setting scaffold above pedestrian protection, descent limiting devices must be installed and secured to prevent crushing. Wall tie anchoring system should always be tight. Be sure to inspect the pins and components when passing by and inform a qualified competent person immediately if a wall tie is loose or missing a pin. There are many different types of wall tie conditions. Know that engineering is always required when attaching to any type of structure. Many materials, such as wood and metal stud, must be reinforced well into the building to support the required loads. It is very important to know the weight of the material you will be loading on the platform and how to distribute it. Always consult the load chart when loading materials. Depending upon the configuration and freestanding height above the last tie, the capacities can be reduced to a fraction of the typical capacity. On a twin mast configuration, point loads must be placed as close as possible to the elevating unit. On single mast configurations, the point loads must be evenly distributed on both sides of the mast. The operator must know and respect the weight capacities for the type of equipment he or she is using. The competent person performing the pre-start inspection should always check the hydraulic oil, motor oil, and gasoline level. While in the compartment, inspect for any leaky hoses or poorly connected battery terminals. The engine compartment should be free from material debris. Any other mechanical adjustments should be made only by a qualified, competent person. A copy of the user manual should and may be located inside the motor compartment. Make sure that the warning panel is in good condition and readable. Look for any other site-specific load charts that may supersede the load chart on the warning label. In the case of inclement weather, such as strong winds, electrical storms, ice or snowstorms and such, do not use the mast climbing work platform. In the case of an electrical storm, leave the platform immediately to avoid electrocution. You must not use the mast climbing work platform in a freestanding installation if winds are stronger than 28 miles per hour. You must not use the mast climbing work platform in an anchored installation if winds are stronger than 34 miles per hour. When the platform is not in use, make sure it is positioned between two anchor points. If winds stronger than 47 miles per hour are in the forecast, the platform must be brought to its lowest level possible, or at an equal distance between two anchor points. The load must be equally distributed on each side of the mast. Depending upon the configuration of the mast climbing work platform, the load capacity, height, or distance between anchors can change. It's important to never use any means to extend your working height on the platform. Always position the platform at an optimum working height. Never modify any component of the FRACO mast climbing work platform. All modifications must be performed by a certified Level 2 installer with the permission of their supervisor. The only time height extenders are allowed to be used is when accessing or egressing the work platform. These systems should always be approved in your site safety plan before use. The weight of a pile of debris is hard to determine and can create an obstruction that jeopardizes the safety of the workers on the mast climbing work platform. Snow that has accumulated on the platform is considered debris and must be removed as well. To prevent tripping hazards and falling debris, clear the platform from debris at all times. The path of travel must be free from anything that can obstruct its movement, such as balconies, ceilings, trees, power lines, and open windows. It's essential that the operator announces any movement of the mast climbing work platform in a clear, loud voice.
Going up!
This helps other users keep an eye out for potential obstructions. When operating a twin mast configuration, keep the bridge as level as possible. The maximum tilt allowed between two elevating units is no more than 1 foot. Without prior authorization, the mast climbing work platform cannot go higher than 5 feet above the last anchor. Never exceed the last anchor when using the FRH portable crane. The rigging and lifting operation must be executed by a competent person. The FRACO Level 1 user certification does not replace proper rigging training and certification. Please read and know all the information in the FRACO Level 1 training manual. Know the weight of the load being lifted as well as the capacity of the crane being used. Make sure that the safety latch on the crane is operational. Make sure the hook, cable, and straps are in good condition. Make sure the access underneath the lifting area is secured and always abide by the proper rigging regulations in your site-specific safety plan. Good visual contact between the rigger and the operator of the crane on the work platform is essential. Never allow the cable to touch the ground. This could cause a backlash on the spool and damage the cable. Always bring the cable to its initial position when the portable crane is not in use. Please take a moment to review some of the important safety rules on page 38 of the training manual. It is important that workers are trained on the same type of mast climbing work platform that they will be operating. Each candidate must be trained by a certified trainer and be familiar with the model-specific operation, controls, and user manual. The pre-start inspection document should be made at the beginning of each shift and kept on file until the end of the project. The pre-start inspection is broken down into 2 areas that should be considered and inspected simultaneously. First, the equipment along with all of its components and materials should be inspected and ensured that it is in good and operational order. Also, be sure the configuration is used within the manufacturer's written or engineered specifications. Secondly, the site area, obstructions, path of travel, and any overall potential hazards should be observed, inspected, noted, and if necessary, communicated to a qualified, competent person. Please turn to the daily inspection sheet on page 47 of the training manual. Remove this page unless a photocopy is handed to you by your FRACO instructor. In legible English, please fill out as much of the information at the top of the daily inspection sheet. Also, in legible English, please fill out your personal information at the bottom of the daily inspection sheet. As we begin with our pre-start inspection, let's start at the ground level of the overall equipment setup. Fill in the information that identifies the FRACO model, tower serial number, type of configuration, and if freestanding or anchored. As we begin our pre-start inspection, let's start at the ground level of the overall equipment setup and fill in the information that identifies the FRACO model, tower serial number, type of configuration, and if freestanding or anchored. As we can see, this configuration is a twin mast ACT8 configuration. The serial numbers on this configuration are ACT128 and ACT130. Now, let's start by taking a look at the perimeter, ground, and base. One of the very first and most important rules is to block off all access to the area below the work platform with red danger tape or some type of barricade. Make sure there is proper signage to communicate the hazards of men working above. Be sure to block access from the interior structure as well as the exterior. When inspecting the base, look at the overall condition of the base. If there is clutter or debris blocking the view of the base, be sure to clear it away so that a proper inspection can be made. Keep an eye out for any hydraulic oil or stains around the base that could identify a potential leak. Inspect the ground, cribbing, and mud sill placement for any movement, damage, or erosion. If you suspect any movement, make the proper notations on the inspection sheet and notify a qualified competent person to ensure the level and stability. Be sure to identify all overhead electrical or utility lines. Proceed to look for any potential obstacles that could obstruct the mast climbing work platform's path of travel during both ascending and descending operations. Still inspecting from the ground, if possible, look for any bends or cracks in the mast, bridges, and extensions on the steel structure. Look into the connection points as well and be sure to identify every nut, bolt, pin, and clip that secures these components. If the mast climbing work platform is elevated in the air beyond a point of proper inspection, please inspect from topside in a safe manner. Jumping ahead just a bit, this is also a good time to inspect for a descent limiting device in the case of a crushing hazard. Before you transition from the ground and access the top side of the mast climbing work platform, inspect the underside of the foot plank to ensure a minimum 6 inches of lap onto the outrigger tube support. This vantage point is also a prudent time to identify any cracks or splits in the plank. Once you have accessed the work platform topside, be sure the location and weight of the materials are loaded properly and within the capacity of that specific configuration. Continue to inspect and note any damage or malfunctions on the platform deck, planks, and plank ties when inspecting the mast area of the elevating units. Identify that the protective mesh and the warning panel are in good condition. Then inspect the condition of the mast sections themselves along with the end mast section and the wall tie anchor points. These components especially should be inspected on an ongoing basis. It is important to top off the gas level at the beginning of each shift. Continue to inspect the sight glass of the hydraulic oil tank as well as check the engine oil. All three of these lubricants can cause an engine to quit, and you don't want to get stuck in an unsafe position by an engine failure. While you are in the engine compartment, inspect the battery cable and any other electrical wires that they are in good condition. Also, check the hydraulic hoses and fittings for any leaks or cracked hoses. Do not attempt to make any repairs yourself. Every elevating unit should have a copy of the product-specific user manual. This manual is located in or around the engine compartment. At this point, we are ready to start the test and operation of the elevating unit. Be sure to test the operation of the red emergency switch button if applicable. If a crane accessory is installed, be sure to inspect the condition of the cable and hook. During a power failure, you can use the emergency descent device to position the platform at a lower level, allowing you for a safe evacuation. This device is not functional on all models and is specifically available on ACT-8 elevating units. On page A28 of the ACT-8 user manual, there is a step-by-step instruction on how to operate the emergency descent device. This procedure will be demonstrated during the hands-on portion of this training. After completing the daily inspection, you simply start the Honda motor by pulling the manual cord in the engine compartment. You might have to deploy the choke if it doesn't start right away. While the engine is warming up, take a moment to walk the length of the platform and make sure there are no obstacles in the path of travel. Then, in a loud, clear voice, announce to the work crew the direction you are about to move. You might need a spotter in the case there's a blind spot. In a loud, clear voice, say, "Going up!" Then, engage the hydraulic lever to extend the climbing hook mechanism to the next rung. Be sure to visually inspect that the hooks are fully seated on the rung, and then move the hydraulic lever in the opposite direction to climb the work platform to the next safety dog position. Once the hydraulic ram is bottomed out, you can then reverse the handle motion to extend the hooks up to the next rung. Repeat this action till you get to your desired elevation. Once you have reached the desired elevation height, release the pressure off the climbing hook mechanism and allow the full weight of the platform to rest on the safety dog. Never hold the platform weight on the climbing hooks while not in operation. The best position for the climbing hook is for the climbing mechanism to be retracted in order to minimize damage and exposure to the ram. To perform the descent operation of the FRSM 8000, repeat the startup and warm-up routine if at the beginning of a shift. When bringing the platform all the way to the ground, be sure to inspect the area below the platform. You may need to ask someone on the ground to inspect for obstructions, as they will have a better vantage point. Many times, pallets of material or equipment will be placed in this area because of the open available space. Engage the hydraulic lever to lift the elevating unit off the safety dog. Then, depress the safety dog foot pedal while you engage the hydraulic valve into the down position. Once the elevating unit has lowered past the original rung, approximately 6 inches, you can then release the safety dog pedal so it will stop on the lower rung. Keep retracting the climbing hook valve until the hooks are completely off the rung. Disengage the hook seat by pulling the release handle as you retract the hydraulic valve. Then, re-engage the release handle and seat the climbing hooks on the lower mast rung. Repeat this process until you are at your desired working height or egress level. Once you have reached the desired elevation height, release the pressure off the climbing hook mechanism and allow the full weight of the platform to rest on the safety dog. When starting the 20K engine, simply turn the ignition key into the start position like starting a car. You may have to choke the engine, which can be done manually from the engine compartment. Once warmed up, turn the choke off and go through the safety checks the same way you did on the 8000. Once you're ready, announce "Going up," Engage the hydraulic lever to extend the lifting hook to the next rung and allow it to be fully seated on the rung. Visually inspect that the hook is fully seated. Engage the hydraulic lever in the opposite direction and climb the elevating unit to the next rung. You will hear the safety dog click into an intermediate position and once again in the final position. You can then release the pressure off the climbing hook and repeat this process until you are at your desired working height. Once again, you must announce to your work crew that you are going down. Going down! Now, starting from the lower rung, engage the hydraulic lever and lift the platform off the safety dog. Depress and hold the safety dog release foot pedal fully and engage the hydraulic valve handle in the down position. Once you are past the intermediate safety dog latch, you can then depress the safety dog release foot pedal. As the platform comes to rest on the lower safety dog, tap the hook release latch with your foot and the hook will automatically let go of the top rung. Engage the hydraulic lever to retract the climbing hook and it will seat onto the lower rung. Repeat this process as many times until you get to your desired position. When you are at your desired working height, rest the platform on the safety dog and step on the hook re-engage pedal. The ACT-8 is also a key start machine. The choke must be pulled out from the engine compartment. Once you have the engine started and warmed up, announce "Going up!" Going up! Simply press the up button and you will climb in a continual motion until you have reached your desired height. Once you are at your optimum working level, depress the pressure relief button and allow the platform to rest on the safety dog. Be sure to turn the ignition key into the off position. By killing the engine with the red emergency stop button and leaving the key on, this can drain the battery power. Following the same engine startup routine and having the engine ready and warmed up, announce "Going down?" Going down! Press the up button to lift the platform off the safety dog. At this point, pull the safety dog lever completely back and hold. Then, press the down button. As the platform lowers, keep backward tension on the safety release lever. Note that the lever will force itself forward a few inches every time it passes a dog on the tower rung. This happens approximately every 6 inches, so simply keep backward pressure on the lever. Once you are at the optimum position, fully release the safety dog lever and allow the platform to rest on the safety dog. Likewise, turn off the engine in the same manner as before. The earlier year model ACT-8 has a choke that is external from the engine compartment. So you will simply turn the ignition key into the start position and when the engine's warmed up, press the choke lever in. When ready, announce "Going up!" Simply turn the up button and you will climb in a continual motion until you have reached your desired height. Once you are at the optimum working level, the hydraulic pressure will automatically bleed off until it rests on a safety dog. Like the going up start routine, repeat that process until the engine is warmed up. Since this elevating unit has an automatic safety dog release, after you have announced "Going down," simply turn the down button. The elevating unit will automatically lift off the safety dog and proceed down until you reach your optimum working level. Allow the hydraulics to bleed off the pressure until it is fully rested onto the safety dog, then simply turn the key into the off position. Well, we appreciate your attention and continual efforts to become a more safe and competent worker. Please know that all of us at Sun Scaffold consider you to be a part of our team. We want you to be successful and more productive by providing you safe equipment rental packages and ongoing training support. If you have any questions or concerns, never hesitate to give us a call at 1-800-813-7780. Thank you.